Governor.
For years, Marxist-inspired leaders within the Democrat Party have promised to lift up the poor, protect the vulnerable, and fight for equity. But when you strip away the slogans, their policies reveal the truth. They are anti-capitalist, pro-open borders, and soft on crime. And the only ones benefiting are the elites who push them. The working class, minority communities, and illegal immigrants, they're the collateral damage in this ideological war. We're going to cover it all. Take a look at this.
Governor, it's a different war now. There's more brothers dying here in these cities than overseas. So isn't it fair to have them there? And it's Democrats that agree with this measure. Don't take my word for it. The local cop there, the police chief, agrees with this. The mayor of the city agrees with this. And it's because people that look like me and you are dying.
No one needs to explain to me the pain that is taking place in so many communities. No one needs to explain to me the pain that is taking place in so many communities, urban, rural, and suburban, who are being besieged by this issue of gun violence, who's being besieged by this issue of chronically and generationally not feeling safe inside of your neighborhoods. And it's the reason that we have made it our top priority to make sure that people are feeling safe. But I can tell you right now, what people want more than anything in those communities is they don't want performative, they want performance, right? They're not looking for someone to walk around with military fatigues and a big gun. They're looking for someone who actually understands how to make people feel safe and how to make people actually safe in their communities. Our National Guards are not trained for this. I'm very specific about my role as Commander-in-Chief of the Maryland National Guard, and we know the missions that they are trained for, and municipal policing is not one of them.
So
if we want to be serious about making people safe, let's actually do the things that make people safe.
Whoa. Wow. All right, ladies, we are going to unpack that and more. This is Pop and Politics, and it's Wednesday. So it's time for Pop and Politics. I'm KJ. Let me introduce you to my co-hosts. Of course, we have Nicole Bennett.
Hey, family.
We have Yana.
Hello.
And Shelly E.
Hi.
All right, before we light this fire, do your part, tap that thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and turn on your notifications. We are live here on YouTube and Rumble. If you're on the go, catch us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify under the name Pop and Politics. We love our chat. We shout out every super chat. So drop your thoughts, show your love, and join the conversation that the mainstream media wishes didn't exist. This is not just a podcast, folks. This is a movement of God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that value freedom. Stand with us and subscribe so we can amplify this rallying call for freedom. All right, ladies, let's set it off. Folks, tonight is a special episode of Pop and Politics. This is one where you're going to be able to send this to your friends, to other patriots, and to maybe people who don't understand what the Democrats are doing, because we're going to break some things down tonight. We are going to expose the Democrats' war on capitalism, borders, and safety. Okay, so this is going to be a great episode to kind of educate people on exactly where they are coming from. As you guys come in, hit that like button. It's important. It helps to get this video out in front of a wider audience, and we appreciate the support. As you know, we are on the road to 200,000 subscribers. That is our goal. We have a goal to hit that by Labor Day, and we can only do it with your help. So please, as you come in, hit the like button and subscribe. All right, ladies. So first, I want to start out by unpacking that video. Love Lawrence Jones, always have on Fox News. He's a great correspondent, and I just can't say enough good stuff about him. And I love the way he gave it to Wes Moore. So for you all don't know, we are here in Maryland. That is our governor, unfortunately, Democrat Governor Wes Moore. He is currently the Democrats' golden boy to run in 2028. So, Shelley, what are your thoughts on that clip? First off.
Yeah. My thoughts are, not only did Wes Moore look pathetic, he looked aloof in a way. He looked ignorant. He is caught off guard, I guess. But all of those descriptors that I just said, what it goes to a larger picture is that he is not only incompetent, he is dangerous for Maryland.
Oh yeah, definitely. Nicole, what did you think of I mean, he told him, look, man, you and I are black people, as Democrats proclaim, to trying to help. And isn't this what President Trump is doing with the National Guard?
Yeah. So Lawrence Jones pulled his punk card. He pulled his punk card, punched it, and slid it across the table to him like it was $100 tip. I'm telling you, he had him on his back foot. The thing that we've noticed about Wes Moore is he really doesn't have any answers. What he has is like this early 70s kind of pimp-like answer to any direct question that you ask him. For example, people aren't looking for performative, they're looking for performance. Well, what the hell does that have to do with 187 dead people in Baltimore? What does that have to do with the question that you were asked? You know, especially when he's sitting across from another Black person, where that Black card of his, that victimization card of his is null and void, and he has to answer a tough question. He has no answers. He takes seriously his position as commander-in-chief of the National Guard. I'm going to tell you, the people who make up Maryland's National Guard are easily trained to do whatever the job is. These are very professional people, and they take their positions very seriously. If we could only get our governor to do the same thing. He doesn't take any of this seriously. Shelley is right. For him, this is just a step stool to his next thing. Meanwhile, the people of Maryland suffer.
Absolutely. I mean, Yana, he gave that line, no one needs to explain to you the pain. No one needs to explain to him the pain. That's what he said. What a crappy talking point. And you could tell it was a talking point. What are your thoughts on that?
That was a talking point, and what he said is so insensitive that don't explain the pain. Has he actually been victimized? Has he actually been attacked on the street? Has he been assaulted in the street? Because a lot of people have, and so he does not know what he's talking about until you actually, I guess, face that danger of being out there and not feeling safe, like really not feeling safe and actually being assaulted. Do not talk about pain that you feel. That is all, theatrics from his side. And he gave a total non-answer. It did not make any logical sense. He said something like, we need to have people who will actually make them feel safe there. Like who? The people who will make others feel safe are the ones who will come and take out the criminals. That's how citizens would feel safe. No any other way. And also, I just need to note why Wes Moore is talking like from the side of his mouth.
That's the only way he can talk. Because he can't talk straight. He can't give you straight.
He lies.
Literally.
He lies.
Oh yeah, he's a liar.
His whole face is crooked.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, this guy, and he had the nerve to say they don't want performative, they want performance. They don't want performance, they want performance. Yeah,
Like
first of all, yeah,
crazy.
it was all theatrics on his part. And you're talking about he hasn't, as Yana mentioned, he hasn't had to face anything. Well, he has faced criticism for being a liar. So when he first came on the scene in 2022 campaigning, he faced criticism for presenting himself as a Baltimore native, despite being born in Tacoma Park, Maryland, which is a suburb of DC, and raised primarily in the Bronx in New York, until moving to Baltimore at the age of 20. And that was to attend John Hopkins University. But he tries to come off as this golden boy of Baltimore City, and he's one of us, and he tries to give the vernacular, and he plays and does the dance to the black people in Baltimore City, and people in Baltimore love to know what was your high school, and they love people that are right from here. He's not even from here, and he carried that lie throughout most of the campaign until he was called out by local media. He's also a liar because, again, during his 2022 campaign, he primarily focused on a Bronze Star claim. He claimed he had some Bronze Star where he inaccurately listed the award on a 2006 application and failed to correct media misrepresentations about it until he was squarely called out on it. So this guy is a professional misinformation liar. And this is what the Democrats do.
Yeah, it's just more word salad. It's just a different face, same word salad. In Kamala, people thought that was kind of charming. That was a part of her charm. The cackle, the kind of ditzy person, kind of like maybe she's 3 martinis into her day.
Only she thought it was charming.
Listen, Democrats ate it up on a stick because for them, you don't actually have to be effective. You don't actually have to have leadership skill. You just have to look like it. And this is where they fall short. I mean, this kind of piggybacks into everything we're talking about when we talk about Marxism and how they're putting up a stage of what they think utopia is supposed to look like. But it's like an old Western set. There's nothing behind it. It's just for show. And he's the perfect character to point that out. This man has no idea what he's doing. Zero idea what he's doing. But people love that, he's performative. They love that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. We have some super chatters here. Thank you all so much, folks. All right, let's see here. We have Kung Fu CJ with a $2 super chat. Says, okay, ladies and Poppin' Politics family, let's get it poppin'. Thank you so much, Kung Fu CJ. We appreciate your support, folks. Your super chats go a long way in helping us produce this content, and we really appreciate each and every super chat. All right. So moving right along. And again, we're going to stay on this sort of theme of the Democrats being Marxist and talking about this takes us to this next clip of the gentleman running for mayor in Minneapolis. What was his name? I forgot. Omar Fata. All right, Omar Fata. He was just recently interviewed, and this guy is so scary, folks. Take a look at what he had to say as far as this being what his first priority will be if he is elected mayor. Clip 1.
So jump in. Day one, if you were elected, what would be some of your top 2-3 priorities for the city?
So that's a very good question. So the first I would say would be a hostile federal government with not only Donald Trump in office, but he has essentially a trifecta, both chambers of Congress and the Supreme Court. And a lot of our neighbors, especially our undocumented residents, are very concerned. Also public safety and making sure that we have a public safety system that works for everyone, as well as protecting our, the second part of this is going to be making sure that we have what's equally important to good policy is good relationships. And a lot of folks are hungry for good governance and making sure that we have an executive that not only partners with City Council, but with our county, with our Minneapolis delegation at the Capitol to bring in the resources and funding for our city, especially in a time when we know that we have a hostile federal government against us.
When it comes to your campaign platforms, do you describe yourself as a democratic socialist?
I am a democratic socialist and also now 3-time DFL endorsed.
What is
3-time what?
DFA endorsed, Democratic something.
I think DSA, Democratic Socialist.
Yeah, DSA.
Okay. Can I say? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You heard what he said. Top priority as mayor of Minneapolis would be protecting undocumented residents. How does that even make sense?
Yeah, let me say this. I'm going to go on the record. You all mark this down. Number one, he has no damn right He should not even be running for any office in the United States of America with his accent or wherever he comes from. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of these naturalized or ethnic people coming here and all of a sudden they're citizens and then they want to run for office. That's number one. Call me a racist, a bigot, whatever. I don't give a damn. That's number one. Moving on. Number two, on this theme of Marxism that we're talking about, this, if you add in the Wes Moore, the Obamas, all of these people, this idea of Marxism, cultural Marxism, if you will, American Marxism, some people call it, fine. This idea of the elite, if you will, these educated because they look the part, right? They fit all the boxes, if you will, high education, you know, they have the access to networking and resources. And this is how they undermine this Constitution. This is how they undermine it because, again, this performance, Wes Moore knows performance well because they fit all the boxes and this is exactly what they do. And because this cultural Marxism largely started in the academies, in our universities, these people are deemed to be the cream of the crop, if you will, or the creme de la creme. So most people are schmoozed over just by how they sound and how they look. Well, most people are taken aback, or I'm not taken aback in a negative way. They love a performance. When you have people on stage who look good and sound good and they can do the parts and say the lines, well, we call that acting. We call that theater. And this is one of the main reasons because these people were academically elite trained and they get to schmooze over a lot of people. I'm going to stop there for now and let someone else talk. But just keep this in the back of your mind, if you will, because these themes run through all of this.
Absolutely. Very well said, Shelly. We have a super chatter here. Tijuana Border Jumper said, no naturalized people running for any office. Shelly E is right. Hey, all. Nicole. All right, with the $10 super chat. Yeah, Nicole, I mean, we hear this term thrown around, democratic socialists, and even some of them are saying, I'm not a communist. I'm not a Marxist. I'm a democratic socialist. So should we be okay with that then?
You know, it's the same pig with lipstick on, right? It's the same messaging. It's the same, excuse my language, folks, but hear me on this. This is the same dumb fuckery that we've been hearing since the early 50s, just repackaged. And Shelley's right. You know, one of the worst things that have happened to the United States in maybe the last 40, 50 years is this onslaught of bringing massive groups of Somalis and Muslims and people who don't assimilate well to our culture and dropping them in places together where they have a block of votes. It's almost like somebody designed it that way. Think about it. Minneapolis, Minnesota. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell? It blows my mind. New York City and Mandami. When you think about the quote unquote Democrat Socialists of America, does anyone see them as being anywhere near democratic? No. They don't have that card to play. What they are socialists. What they are communists. These are people who are repackaging this idea in a way that young people, because we failed them in their education, think is sexy. And the wealthier you are, the more they think, man, maybe this is a great idea. They're not going to see it until it's too late. They're not going to see it until they're the ones who are waiting on the bread line and all of their grandpa's money that he worked so hard for is gone. All of your education that you spent so much money to get means nothing. And you too will be standing in line at the government-run grocery store waiting for your allotment of whatever they want you to have. We have got to do better. One, the first front, educating our children so that they can see this bullshit and call it out for what it is. Two, immigration-wise, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It's like they rebuilt that whole state on the back of illegal immigrants and naturalized citizens and this foolishness. And three, legislatively, if you weren't born here, and I mean born here, you should not hold any public offices. Call me racist, call me what you will. I agree with you, Shelley. This is some abject foolishness.
Yeah, Yana, I'm curious to get your thoughts on that because you weren't born here. You immigrated here legally, and are a naturalized citizen. Do you agree that only natural born citizens should run for office?
No, I don't agree with that because we do have immigrants who understand these issues really well. I think there's a lady by the last name Vernick in New York who came from the former Soviet Union, and she's a Republican, and she speaks against Mamdani. So I think it really and we have also Americans who were born here who are total Marxists. So I don't think I don't think being born here really makes you a supporter of capitalism, and being born outside of this country necessarily makes you an anti-American or anti American democracy. So in his case, though, it's really disturbing. For what he said, when he said that we need to be protecting undocumented citizens or something like that, he should be stripped of his American citizenship for what he is saying, because that is treasonous, what he is saying. He is saying that he wants to represent foreign nationals and not Americans if he takes his office. So that is preposterous. I don't understand how he's even allowed to speak and say things like that. So besides, yes, I agree that we need to be careful about who we're letting into this country. But these people like Omar Fatah, he was also indoctrinated in America. He went to a very liberal college here in Northern Virginia. He went to George Mason University, a very liberal college. And his professors, I'm sure, talked about, because I went to that college. So I know what kind of professors are there. And they talk about socialism. They're Democrats for the most part. So, and when we talk about educating our children, I mean, that's scary because you send your kid to college and then he comes out a democratic socialist. So we need to be looking at multiple things, who we're letting in here, and also what are young people being taught, because he is the product of it. Like, he is just a complete conglomeration of whatever of this he it starts from his birth and until his current, his education and his current state of mind.
Yeah, absolutely. We have some super chatters here. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much. All right, we have Kung Fu CJ with the $5 super chat. Says, if any city attacks any federal buildings, Trump can send in federal forces without the governor's consent. All right. Thank you so much, Kung Fu CJ. Super sticker. All right. From D Dale 20 with the $20 super sticker. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. All right. Brown Eyes with the $10 super chat. Yes. Thank you so much, Brown Eyes. So, yeah, folks, like we said, this is going to be a very educational segment tonight. I want to go over some things, particularly about how we do hear the Democrats continuing to say, I'm a democratic socialist. I'm a democratic socialist, because they know that the name Marxism or Marxist has a bad rap. So now they're repackaging this as a democratic socialist. And we know, as you all have said, it's the same thing. It's the 2025 version of Marxism. And what he is saying is pattern Marxism, the idea of internationalism over sovereignty. We have seen most of these Democrats have been pushing open borders, have been pushing allowing illegal citizens, undocumented migrants into voting and things like that. It is internationalism over sovereignty. And again, Marxism promotes global worker solidarity and erasing national borders. Democratic socialists support open borders, international climate agreements, and a UN-style governance that weakens our sovereignty, folks. This is very, very dangerous. And we need to take them seriously when they say this. Not only are they pushing this here in the United States, but they're pushing it in places like China and the WEF. The idea of a cashless society, this idea that we are no longer United States citizens, we are global citizens. This is dangerous. It is not a good thing for us. And we need to start talking about this and educate people on this. These folks are voting for their own demise, as we have said this over and over again on this channel.
Yep. Yeah, I want to just say something to Yana. I think Allie mentioned it like 20 years ago. She may not have thought this as far as naturalized citizens not becoming holding office. I totally what's the word? I understand. I sympathize with you, what you said, and Allie. I probably would have thought differently too 20, 25 years ago. My point is that naturalized citizens, I'm going to stay there right now. I don't think they should, but I do what you said about American citizens born here. They're not necessarily guaranteed to be America first either. I get that. My point is that we don't have to have naturalized citizens become whole elective office, certainly not high office. So we can just get them off the bat right away. But I totally understand what you said. It's kind of like, you're not guaranteed either way. I can totally understand that. But at the same time, this is America. At least with people born here, we can easily maybe get them out of office, or at least they don't have to be voted in at all. We don't have to have that sympathetic performance like Wes Moore was talking about. But again, I'm going to keep saying it. I totally understand what you're saying, Yana. I can sympathize with that. Right now, we're taking too many risks, I think, with these naturalized citizens claiming allegiance to everything else except for America.
Really? Are we though? The numbers don't match that. I mean, when you think about what Yana said, and I didn't think about it the way she, most of these Democrats, these leftist woke Democrats are not not
foreign born.
I get it.
Yeah. They're here, they're homegrown. Actually, the ones that many of the folks that really taught me and talked to me about this whole idea of Marxism and things are ones that have come from outside of the country, from these Marxist countries, to say, folks, we need to stop what we're doing here. They see what happens in their countries is happening here. So
I get it, KJ.
I don't know if it's an actual indicator of whether someone is going to give us a hard time. Now, I do say you can't have dual citizenship. I do agree that you should not be allowed to have dual citizenship if you're running for office.
I think as someone who is a naturalized citizen and is running for office really needs to prove that they're pro-American. So, they cannot have dual citizenship. They cannot hold a passport of another country. They also cannot say things like, I'm going to represent foreigners, I'm going to represent immigrants, especially undocumented immigrants, really. However, I think just because the person wasn't born here, they don't qualify. I think that does sound like xenophobia, and I don't think
what you want. I said it. I'm going to wear it.
I don't think that's
to your point, KJ. I don't care what the numbers say, okay? I'm going by just like the same thing as far as crime. Crime numbers may say one thing, but people on the ground, your actual perception, that is what is going to be what people are experiencing. I'm not saying that the numbers are significantly saying that the naturalized citizens are the ones we see. No, but the ones you were talking about, they're not the ones running for office most of the time.
Let me tell you, Shelly,
when you think of people
I'm talking about the ones who
like Vivek Ramaswamy, you have people in
but they're not the ones that we hear all the time, most of the time saying the things that this guy.
Most of the Democrats,
I don't care about the numbers. The numbers don't matter to me.
What you just said is not true. But what you just said
matter to me.
Okay, I hear you. But what you just said is not true. Most of these leftists that are shouting death to America, that are shouting down, are American born.
I didn't dispute that. I said the naturalized citizens, which you said, many of them are not the ones that we see. The ones that you said that taught you, they're not the ones mostly running for office that we see. They're not the ones out there saying, taking the office or whatever the positions may be. They're not the ones. They're teaching us and talking to us one-on-one. And I don't care that there's not an overwhelming number of them. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I'm saying at least right now, no more naturalized citizens taking office. The Americans, we got to deal with them. Like you said,
I would respond differently. We do have naturalized citizens who are, let's say, Republican, pro-American, who are running for office. Maybe they're not as many as the Democrats, because the Democrats are really behind them and they're pushing them. They're pushing them towards these positions. And Republicans maybe are not elevating, I don't know, maybe they don't have the same kind of policy. And so they have to have grassroots. But the people, we've been talking about Marxism, and the people who are the most outspoken about the dangers of Marxism are the ones who came from countries that were destroyed by Marxism. The Chinese, the Vietnamese, the former Soviet Union, people from the former Soviet Union republics, they're the most outspoken, and they're the ones who can really pick up on those nuanced words that are coming out from the Democrats. And an American person might just think, oh, okay, they're just talking about equality. Yeah, they may not even realize that they're actually Marxists. And if you're coming from those regions, if you're a naturalized citizen, you run away from that environment, you're going to be a lot more effective here.
Yeah, we definitely will touch back on that. But speaking of undocumented citizens, we got to talk about border czar Tom Homan. So he just released a clip recently talking about the federalization of DC and how it has officially ended DC's sanctuary city status. This is clip 4. Take a look.
I think DC under federal control is not going to be a sanctuary city. We're working with the police hand in hand. When we encounter a criminal illegal alien, they're going to be turned over to ICE. And that's the way it should be. I mean, I'm not saying every illegal alien in D.C. is a criminal, but many are. So these are people we're going to focus on. An illegal alien criminal safety threat in D.C. is not going to be protected. There's no sanctuary for these people in the city of D.C.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And I agree wholeheartedly with what he said. I want to get your thoughts on this, Nicole.
Listen, I agree with Tom Homan. I absolutely agree with it. The problem we're going to have is that, for all intents and purposes, DC is a lost Maryland county. So they're just going to run. They're going to run to other parts of Maryland, Montgomery County, Tacoma Park, places where they are safe. So again, I think last episode I talked about the drip down, what happens. DC gets really serious about crime, so all the crime moves out until DC decides it's not going to be serious about crime, then all the crime moves back. It's the same thing with these illegal aliens. They're just going to run, and they're going to keep running until they find some place that's safe, that's welcoming, that's going to help them. And Montgomery County, Maryland is that place. Boston, Massachusetts, another place like that. The problem that we're going to have here is what happens when they get to a sanctuary place. Again, we need to have a really solid foundation. So Tom Homan and his team are not just running around chasing illegal aliens from one state to another state. We need to have laws in place that says you may not rent housing to people who are not citizens of this nation. You may not sell them a car. You may not open a bank account. We have got to get really tough on these employers. Not a small $2,000 fine smack on the hand. I'm talking $100,000 per incident. Once we get some foundational things here, they won't stay. They won't be able to stay. It makes it so much easier for him to do his job. But right now, what we can't expect is, the illegal aliens to run from DC into Maryland, in Montgomery County to be overrun yet again.
Yeah, absolutely. And Iana, so I want to ask you, how are these sanctuary cities, this idea of a sanctuary city, Marxist in nature?
Well, in order to have a Marxist takeover, you have to have masses of people who will back your ideology. So you need to have the proletariat, the so-called, and the workers who feel disenfranchised, who feel that maybe they weren't given as much opportunities or as much wealth as somebody else, and they're easily manipulated to follow socialist principles. And also, a lot of these people that came here from, let's say, Central South America, they actually were educated in Marxism, in socialism. They want this kind of utopia where the government takes care of citizens, and they just think that maybe in their country it was not implemented properly. So it's very, very easy to manipulate them. So the more of them that you have here, you'll have a slew of people who will back Democrats, democratic socialists, who will back some sort of revolution, changing of the constitution. So it's really bringing people who do not believe in the American foundation. We can't hear you, KJ.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And I want to, before I get you in on this, Shelly, I want to acknowledge our super chatters here, folks. Thank you so much. All right, let's see here. We have Tijuana Border Jumper with the $10 super chat. Says, if naturalized citizens are allowed to run for office only after 10 years after they are naturalized, they have to prove their loyalty, and people like that, Guatemalan, need to be removed, period. All right. Yeah,
Absolutely.
very good point. Very good point there. Thank you so much. Again, folks, as you come in, hit that like button. It helps to get this video out in front of a wider audience, and subscribe. We have a goal to hit 200,000 subscribers by Labor Day. It's going to be Labor Day before we know it, and we need your help. So share this video in a DM, send it on your timeline, send it in a text, and subscribe. Again, we are God-fearing, freedom-loving people, and if you are the same, you found your friends, your community, your family, subscribe. All right. So, So, Shelly, I want to get your point, your thoughts on this next clip. So, this is an older clip of Corinne Jean-Pierre. All right. She was talking about appears to be a what was it? I'm sorry.
She doesn't know either.
You're talking about the crime bill in DC.
Right. Okay. Right. Exactly. I'm sorry. Not that one. I want to get your thoughts on this current hearing in DC. It was a congressional hearing about NGOs facilitating mass illegal aliens into every district within the United States. Mm-hmm. Take a look at this. This is clip 6.
I now recognize Mr. Mike Howell for 5 minutes for his opening statement.
Members of the subcommittee, thank you for the opportunity to testify about the role of NGOs, or non-governmental organizations, in facilitating mass illegal immigration. I currently serve as the executive director of the Oversight Project, and previously was at DHS and on Capitol Hill conducting oversight of immigration matters. The United States of America is still reeling from the worst border invasion in its history. This was an invasion that was planned, promoted, encouraged, funded, and sustained by radical elements of the previous administration. But this invasion could not have been accomplished without a colossal partnership with the NGO community. Simply put, the government just did not have the capacity to get this many people in and around the country without the support of the nonprofits. And to that end, they gave them almost $6 billion to a conglomerate of UN agencies and over 200 NGOs to do just that, according to statistics from the Center for Immigration Studies. The result was that Border Patrol became a daycare. They became Uber drivers just to shuttle illegals to the nonprofits to get them around the country. Now, the Oversight Project has led the way in exposing what I call this border industrial complex. In December of 2022, we did the first of its kind study where we tracked illegal aliens by their cell phones as they went through these nonprofits at the border. In just a 1-month period, in tracking 30,000 devices, so a very small subset of the 10 million that Biden had crossed the border, we found out that the illegals went to nearly every single congressional district in the United States. We proved that every town was indeed a border town.
Wow. All right. So, Shelly, I mean, he's basically saying that this invasion of our border was planned, it was promoted, it was encouraged and funded. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. Just like genocide cannot happen unless the government facilitates it. The same thing for millions and millions of illegal immigrants crossing our borders. It won't happen unless the government facilitates it. He explained how basically our government, our taxpayer money has basically been used against us to fund these extra constitutional NGOs around the world to fund, and then they funnel the people back with the money that Americans, taxpayers' money, which basically goes through our Congress. So basically, we're funding our own demise unwittingly, if you will. So it cannot happen. This is why I continue to say, number one, when you hear the word grant, most of the time it's not private funds, it's public, which means taxpayer money. Take out the word, all these fancy sounding institutions and names. It's just taxpayer money being funneled some kind of way. That's number one. Number two, these tactics and actions only ultimately go to undermine and subvert our Constitution. Ultimately, it hurts us as Americans. I'm going to say naturalized versus natural born, whatever. It hurts us as Americans because we are the beneficiaries, thank you, and the benefactors of this Constitution and our own well-being. So our Congress, our government, by and large, has really subverted. And you want to talk about insurrection, non-violently, insurrection against its own people. I mean, it's the biggest coup, eyes wide open, biggest coup ever, in my opinion. At least one of them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Nicole, I mean, this is shocking. I mean, it's shocking. It's shocking to hear, but I understand, and we all been talking about this for a while, that we knew that this was going on. Do you agree with this? Do you believe this is what happened? And is this why Democrats pitched such a fit about defunding USAID and auditing this from the DOJ's audits of this organization?
Absolutely. I think he hit the nail on the head when he talked about how this has become one of the newer industrial complexes here in the United States. You know, we have a vested interest in keeping people poor. We give them just enough to live so they can come back and ask us for some more. We have built an entire system of jobs and career paths based on serving the poor people without ever helping them not be poor. It's the same thing with these illegal aliens, you know, getting them into the country, open border, no problem. You tell Border Patrol to stand down. The same Border Patrol that's locked up this border so tight, you can get maybe 10, 15 people across in 3 or 4 weeks. Those same people were told to stand down. Those same people were told to look another way. And then not only the NGOs, but let's call it what it is. Some of these churches, I'm not going to point any fingers at you, Catholic Church, pointing fingers dead at you, Catholic Church, helped, facilitated this invasion of our nation, and then said to us, you're being racist if you don't want illegal aliens in your country. You're being racist against brown people. Well, it's not only the brown people that came here. We got plenty of other people who came from our northern border. How about that? Plenty of people who snuck in from Canada into New York, into Detroit. What are we going to say to our children when we don't have a country left to leave them? When there are more Omar Fatahs and Zamdanis running and winning office places who don't really love this nation. They love the perfect idea of their home nations, the homeland that their parents and their grandparents, you know, kind of ruminate over. But only if they had American money, it would work. It's not going to work. It didn't work there. It's not going to work here, regardless of how much money you throw at it. But what can we do to defend our nation from that train of thought? What can we do? The first thing we do is we cut the head off the monster, and then we tighten the purse strings. And getting rid of those NGOs was the way that we tightened those purse strings. It was the best thing that ever happened, shutting down USAID.
Yeah. Yeah, Yana, I mean, right now we've had a momentary pause on all this with President Trump in office. You know, we currently have a majority in the House and the Senate. But Do you think we've done enough to stop this? Or do you think they're going to continue to come? Do you think that, this idea of Marxism through illegal immigration, through the economic system, do you think they're going to continue to push it? And how can we fight back?
They will continue to try. So right now, Trump has put a stop to illegal immigration, and on the border, they're checking people more. Even the ones that are coming through other routes, there's more oversight of also visa holders, whether they're complying with the visa requirement. So it is happening right now. But the issue is that how long is it going to last? And if we just have to have these policies that Trump has implemented, we need to continue them, because as soon as it gets eased a little bit, they will push again. Of course, the Marxists are not going anywhere. The globalists with their global experiment are not going anywhere. And America has been ripped apart into pieces. Everybody wants a piece of America. And we have seen, in this situation with NGOs, they're making so much money off of the taxpayers, and the people who work for the NGOs, they're making money. Then they're giving this whatever funds they have to illegal immigrants. We have seen that they had buses, they had food, they had hotel rooms, they had phones, debit cards, and I mean, they were living a life, everyone, the NGOs and whoever was coming in here. So we just have to be vigilant that they will always want to have a piece of America.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, this is engineered demographic and cultural shifts. This is what it is. And Marxism thrives by destabilizing existing social structures to rebuild society in a new ideological image. So this mass migration overwhelms communities. This is what they've been trying to do. It strains public services and accelerates cultural and political shifts, creating the conditions for a new world order. This is what they're doing. Also, it's a redistribution of wealth without our consent, because this taxpayer money is taken from working Americans and given to NGOs, as Shelley said, to provide housing, healthcare, food, and legal aid for non-citizens. This is forced wealth redistribution. People better wake up. And I want to go back to something about the sanctuary cities. This again is this idea of these sanctuary cities is it's using mass migration to reshape society. Marxist revolutions historically destabilized existing social orders to build a new society. So what they're doing is creating a permanent underclass by keeping illegal immigrants in a legal gray area, these sanctuary cities. It creates a permanent oppressed class who rely on progressive politicians for protection and votes, because they're trying to get them. They've already done it in New York where illegals can vote. They've done it, I think, in some places in Maryland, illegals can vote as well. So the Democrats are using this to stay in power. And this is why they are so upset about President Trump putting a bee in their bonnet. Is that that's a term?
That's the right term. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. And it goes on from here. I mean, and as we mentioned, it's not just people that are, natural born citizens that are pushing this on the left. You have a clip here with Elizabeth Warren, who is championing Zohran Mamdani. This is clip 7. Take a look.
Progressive social. Is this what the party should look like?
Yes. You bet. The Democratic Party needs to stand up and be clear. We are the party that fights for affordability for working families. That means childcare, that means housing, it means healthcare. It means making this country work better for the working people who make this country work.
All right, last question.
I get a little excited about this. Okay. All right.
I don't know what drug she's on or what drug she's coming off of, but as I said before, must be some powerful shit. Shelley, what are your thoughts on that exchange?
I was looking at these the 45 communist goals, and number 32 stands out to speak to this Elizabeth Warren about supporting any socialist movement to give centralized control over any part of culture. That includes education, social agencies, mental health clinics, welfare. So any part of our social system, this is what these democratic socialists of America want, these Marxists. They want centralized control, and that is starkly against the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness of this Constitution. It undermines it. I think it was Ben Franklin. I wrote it down. Ben Franklin who said, those who would give or request essential liberty, who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary security deserve neither liberty nor security. You're going to give up this idea, or you're going to give up actual liberty and freedom for this idea, this facade of the government protecting you from everything, from cradle to grave. You should know, as an American, certainly, you should know that you literally, when you're born, you get a social security number, which means what? You're going to start paying taxes. They already got your number before you actually start to pay taxes. And when you die, when your family members die, you get estate bills and all kinds of probate bills, even when they're dead. So our government, these bureaucrats, they're elected to office, yes, but they are more bureaucrats. They are more about centralized control. And I know, don't get me wrong, it's mostly on the left, the Democratic parties, but I hold our congressmen, Republican, Democrat, whatever, I hold them responsible and accountable, because this has been going on for years, and it's just starting to, I guess, come, and people are understanding it more. Thankfully, we are understanding it more, but this has been embedded, if you will, or cultivated, typically in the academic institutions and down through our culture, from all institutions. And now Americans, thankfully, are waking up more and more. And this is our country. It's our money. Our Congress never had the authority, never had the rights, if you will, enumerated rights to take our money, create NGOs, create these extracurricular or extra constitutional agencies, and then say, give our money to it, and then give away their authority to oversee it. Never. That was never the intention.
Yeah. Nicole, I mean, it is clear that many of these Democrats, including Elizabeth Warren, are anti-capitalist. Why aren't people waking up to this and saying, because we're a capitalist nation. Capitalism has been one of the most powerful economic tools that we've seen in the world. And yet it's gotten a bad rap.
Well, it's gotten a bad rap from a certain demographic here in our nation who don't want to work hard for anything. They don't believe in American exceptionalism, and they most assuredly don't believe that they themselves are excellent. So they're waiting for the government handout. They don't quite understand that I am the government. Shelley is the government. You, Yana, are the government. It's our money that they're waiting for. They're free, whatever it's going to be. In cities like New York, where he's talking about government-run grocery stores, right? Rent control across the city. All of those things sound really good if you're one of the people who say, why should I have to work? I mean, you see them all over the internet, all over TikTok and YouTube. Why should I have to work? I have children. I should be able to stay home and build relationships with my children rather than get out here and worry myself to death, drive in traffic, do all of these things. And that's not new. We used to see these t-shirts that said adulting sucks. Well, yeah, it's hard to be an adult, make no mistake, but that's what we were born and bred for, right? Again, we're coming into this on the back half of this idea when these quote unquote democratic socialists started when our children were in kindergarten, telling them everybody's equal. No matter how hard you try, if you get an A and she gets a C, you guys are the same type of student. Everybody gets a trophy. You didn't win the game. Everybody played pretty well. Just because they scored less points than you doesn't mean that they're not a great player. They start planting these seeds of being flat, of being no better than your comrade standing next to you. And those seeds then grow into adults like this jackass Mamdani, right? He's not a naturalized citizen. He was born here in the United States from what I've read up on him. When you talk about people who were born here in the United States, but don't have a love for this nation or the way that we run this nation, capitalism is the first thing that they go after. Why work hard when we can just give it to you? But what they don't see is the control that comes with waiting for the government to give you anything. Those are scary words. I'm from the government and I'm here to help. The government's never here to help you. That's not how the government functions. It has never functioned that way, and it's not going to. It's sad, though, as we watch this kind of roll across our nation with the help of these NGOs and the people who support them, Elizabeth Warren and her Pocahontas bullshit. We see this stuff roll across our nation, and it makes me think of that Joni Mitchell song. What was it, Yellow Taxi? Or she's talking about paving over paradise to put up a parking lot. This is exactly what we're doing. We're paving over the greatest economy the world has ever known, the greatest system, capitalism, the world has ever known, to go back to waiting online for your fair share of absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, Yana, I mean, this is scary. And I mean, we paint a dire situation. Do you believe, do you believe that this can actually happen here in the United States, where everybody is armed, where we carry around pocket constitutions? Do you actually believe that we could become a socialist state, a communist state like China, and some of these other countries?
I think it's possible. It can't be happening at once, but because we have different states and different leaderships in these states, and Democrats have taken control on some of our states, almost total control. It can happen state by state if they start removing people's ability to have arms, to have guns. People will be stripped of their protection, and then they can slowly bring in more and more socialist policies, more redistribution of wealth. These policies where we have to fund free daycare for kids, we have to fund healthcare, and we have to fund the illegals. So this can happen state by state. And Russia, when you think of it, Russia was even bigger than what it is right now when communism has taken hold of it. It's a gigantic country that was it had lots of commerce, free market economy. People had guns too. I mean, people went hunting. Maybe not as many guns as Americans have right now, but they could defend themselves if they needed to. Also, people in Russia before the Soviet Union was created were very religious, and look what happened to it. The communists, the Marxists were able to manipulate the masses and make people believe that something better can be created, that we can all forget our differences, and we can get rid of our traditions, we can forget our religion, because that is what's holding us back from having a communist utopia where everybody is respected in the same way. And they're putting these ideas into young people's minds, and in fact a lot of them were wealthy people, young people who came from wealthy families that were supportive of a Marxist takeover of Russia, and then they manipulated the masses who just wanted more bread and more, I guess, handouts that were promised. And so it's absolutely possible, and so we have to be on the lookout for it. And as I was saying, our institutions, our educational institutions, are the ones that are pushing these ideas. in schools. And just like Nicole was saying, this whole idea of total equality in especially in universities, it's pushed as this idea that needs to be eventually, that we have to come to socialism, we have to come to Marxism, like it's inevitable. This is what they believe. And someone like Elizabeth Warren in that little clip, like she's shaking with some kind of Marxist
Performance.
orgasm that she was having, and it was just so creepy to watch. And Mamdani is looking at her all smiling because he knows that she's his useful idiot.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, and as you mentioned, you were saying how this can happen based on how we do have people in government, in leadership, that are implementing these Marxist policies. Elizabeth Warren is the number one Indian giver of these policies. She pushed forward a wealth tax. She was supporting that. Where it proposed a 2% annual tax on household net worth over 50 million and 3% on net worth over 1 billion. Folks, this is anti-capitalist. It goes against free market free markets. She also pushed Medicare for all. She pushed a real corporate profits tax. These are all anti-capitalist policies, and she has been number one pusher of these things. And as they were mentioning in the chat, this is all biblical. We can put forward a biblical context to this, how, this is something, this idea of one world order, of this idea of how they're pushing somewhat of a utopia on earth. That is plain biblical language. And it talks about this in the Bible, that this is coming. And speaking of that, folks, here we on Metro Conservative Media, we have several shows. Tomorrow night is the night for Christian Conservative at KJ Christian Conservative. Folks, if you haven't subscribed, go over there and subscribe now. We are starting a 3-part series tomorrow night. You all have been asking for it. We're going to do it. The series is titled From Candace Owens to the Vatican: Catholicism, Islam, and the End Times. We're going in, folks. I haven't seen anybody do something like this yet. We're going in tomorrow on Christian Conservative at KJ Christian Conservative. This is a 3-part Christian Conservative expose. Tomorrow night will be part 1. We're going to do part 2 on Sunday, and we're going to round it out with part 3 next Thursday. This is going to be epic. Please go subscribe, tune in. It's going to be epic. And we're going to really bring all this together on the biblical part of how this is what we knew was coming, but we have a different take. We're going to step on some toes, I believe, but it's going to be good. All right. So we got to get back to this. I think this is just the beginning. But guess what, folks? We got to fight against all of this. This is why we have channels like Poppin' Politics, like Christian Conservative, like Just the Guys, like the All American Talk Show. We are patriots. We are Constitution-loving patriots who stand for freedom. We stand for everything that is against Marxism, against the social justice, against what they call it, social democratic
social justice warriors and all that. Yeah.
We stand against it. So please check us out and subscribe. All right. So moving right along, again, one of the big things that this whole Marxism goes against is safety. And we kind of touched on it a little bit here, but it's against the safety of each of one of us, and they don't want safe communities. Before I move on, we want to acknowledge our super chats here. Thank you all so much. All right, JT Thompson, Edwin Jones. Wow, with the $50 super chat.
Thank
you, ladies. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Edwin.
You. All right, Kung Fu CJ says Yana is sugarcoating. These people are dangerous. All right. Yes, indeed. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate you. All right. So I want to round this out. We want to round this out with the idea of how this Marxism is soft on crime and anti-law enforcement. So, again, these Democrats claim to love Black people, Black furs and Black this and Black that, when it's really just about using the Black community. Unfortunately, the Black community allows themselves to be used because they're so emotionally tied to racial idolatry. But in this next clip, I want to show you what these people don't like Black people. This is clip 3. This is Democrats. Take a look. This is clip 3.
What's up, guys? This is Giovanni, co-founder of Metro Conservative Media. We are the definitive home for the urban conservative. You think you got what it takes? Go to metroconservativemedia.com and click join the movement now.
I did talk to the team, and we have a couple of things that I just want to lay out for all of you and on what the DC bill does. It reduces maximum penalties for offenses like murders and other homicides, armed home invasion burglaries, armed carjackings, as I mentioned, armed robberies, unlawful gun possession, and some sexual assault offenses.
So there you have it, Corinne Jean-Pierre. So let's break down what she was talking about there. She's talking about that was Democrats backed a DC law to reduce the maximum penalties for crimes such as murder, armed home invasion, armed carjacking, unlawful gun possession, and sexual assault. Now, Biden eventually blocked that bill from passing, but the DC Council voted almost unanimously to put it forward. Shirley, what are your thoughts on that?
And she looked like she was giddy about it, so that's number one. Let me say this. Number two, we were talking about communism and Marxism, and that's, some people put some resources in the chat. I just want to give a shout out to a very succinct lesson on Marxism, if you will, or capitalism, I should say. Go to PragerU and watch the videos from Walter Williams. May he rest in peace. The Economist makes it very succinct, very palatable to learn in 7 minutes. Some basic concepts. But let me say, you talking about safety, KJ, and Marxism, they really don't go together. Now, Marxists, if you will give you the pretense that they care about freedom. What they care about is releasing criminals and violent people, as Corinne Jean-Pierre was just talking about. All those crimes that she mentioned, it started with the reduction of the sentences. So reducing the sentences, reducing the penalties for all those people. Capitalist and certainly Judeo-Christian nations, i.e. the USA, our Constitution based on life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, freedom, not freedom to overtake or prevent someone else from experiencing their liberties. That's not the freedom you have, but you had the freedom to experience yours, and in the lawful, moral, constitutional manner. That's what we had the freedom to do. So Marxists, they don't like freedom. The safety they present is really, again, to use Governor Moore's word, it's a performance. It's performative. It's a pretense. It's a facade, because they don't offer you safety. How in the world are you going to have the relative freedom and safety when you have the violent people and you have their advocates in government, bureaucrats, advocating for them to be released? That doesn't make sense. Again, people, these concepts, they may sound academic and all these fancy names, but at the end of the day, they basically violate your right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And if you're not living, you can't pursue happiness. If you're not living, you don't have any liberty. You're buried 6 feet under. But ultimately, Marxists want to overturn this Constitution. And then I'm not going to say I've ever been the first person to come up with this, because I'm sure I have not. But it just dawned on me that most, if not all, but most of Marxism is really anti this Constitution. This Constitution. No other country that I'm aware of, maybe Yana might maybe fill me in, but no other country that I'm aware of is Marxism so anti, except for this Constitution and the United States of America. That's my never to be humble opinion.
Right. You're right. And another thing about Marxism, before I get you in on this, Nicole, is Marxists and Marxism hate Christianity. They hate it. They don't go against most other religions. They actually go hand in hand a lot with Islam, believe it or not. Now, I'm not saying Muslims, if you're practicing Muslim, you believe in Marxism. I'm not saying that. But with the founding principles of Marxism, they all have always gone against Christianity, and they align with. They don't say anything about Buddha. You don't hear them talking about Buddhists. They celebrate Islam. Not even Catholicism do they really come out against it, but Christianity,
Judeo-Christian,
they go against it hard.
Exactly.
So definitely look at that. Nicole, what are your thoughts on that video in this bill that DC overwhelmingly voted for?
Well, DC's city council is overwhelmingly, I don't want to say democratic because that's not the appropriate word, but liberal. Leftist, liberal, absolutely. This is the same crime bill that Simone Sanders, who we talked about yesterday, in her clip, was talking about. Well, they already have a crime bill. All we have to do is, just kind of fix it. Well, there's no fixing what's this horribly broken. At some point, we have got to get very serious about crime. And dare I say, the big crime, murder. Well, people who are slain, people who are SA'd, YouTube, right? People who have their bodies have violence against their will, right? People who live through that circumstance are citizens of our nation, and they deserve protection under that Constitution, just like the person who committed the crime, right? The suspect has rights and all of that. So does the victim. But this crime bill did not take victims into consideration. Their only consideration was how quickly can we get these people, these violent people, back into society, right? From an American standpoint, it seems so counterintuitive that you would want to lock up the people who are killing people, lock up the people who are committing violence against other people. But you can't do that because you have to have poor people. You have to have people that you can run on and say, oh, we're going to get tough on crime, vote for me for the 55th time, and I'll sit on this board and do nothing more than let criminals come back into your communities where I don't live. Let's do that and run amok. It is so unconscionable. Again, I keep saying this because people think Washington, D.C. is this big place. It's not. It's a very little tiny place. Again, probably one of the smaller communities or counties here in Maryland if we would have retained DC. But they have big crime problems because of bills like that, because of that crime bill that says it's not important to protect our citizenry. It's more important to, quote unquote, try to rehabilitate these very violent people. Some people cannot be rehabilitated. And I say that to you as someone who believes in second chances, third chances, fifth chances, eighth chances in certain circumstances. But when you take the life of another person, especially willfully, especially in the dark of night, someone's walking down the street and you make it a point to shoot them 5, 6, 8, 10 times, or a 3-year-old riding in the car with their family who gets shot in the head because, you and your friends are out here shooting at each other over something that makes no sense. There's a special place in hell for those kind of people. And I believe that there should be a special place in the penitentiary for them too. We have got to get serious about locking up the people who are dangerous enough to cause harm to our communities. And leftists don't like that idea. They don't. They like the idea of, we'll smack them on the wrist. We'll give them a professional timeout, maybe 2-3 years, 8 if they're really, really bad. And we'll let them back out to rape, pillage, and destroy communities again. And that's what they stand on. And people fall for this stuff every single time, especially people who look like me and KJ and Evie. Everybody's got an uncle or somebody who's been locked up. Oh yeah, we're going to stand up for him. No, let's take a hard look at it. What if that uncle had killed your mother? Would you want him out now? We have to think more about building better communities than reclaiming old problems. And that's the problem that we have with these Democrat socialists and these uber liberals that are running many American cities.
Absolutely, Nicole. And speaking of looking like us, what the Democrat Party always talks about, protecting Black folk, protecting brown folk, all this type of stuff. Look at what happened in New York City recently in clip 5. Okay, that video made me so sad. And I'm gonna tell you why. I want to get your thoughts on this, Yana. The police officers that were attacked look so young. They look so young. And again, I don't like to racialize everything, but the Democrats talk about black and brown. They were all black and brown police officers just there. Looks like they were young beat cops doing their job, doing what they were paid to do, and these protesters, these unhinged nuts, these leftist loonies, attack them. Police officers are under such duress these days, and they get such a bad rap physically and mentally. And this, you don't hear the left talking about this. No, they're doxing people like them. Yana, what are your thoughts on that?
It was really sad to watch and made me really angry. God bless our police officers. And it's amazing that we still have police officers and young people like them actually applying and taking on this job, because this is really scary. Imagine their mothers watching this video and their families are thinking, okay, is this worth it? And this is why these democratic socialists, the Marxists, they want more of these masses of people. This is why they want more illegals here. This is why they want to cut the sentences and let out the criminals, because they can be doing things like this, attacking our police officers and creating chaos on the street.
Exactly. Yeah. KJ, what you said and what you are expressing, those sentiments only matter to people who care about life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and certainly who care about cops. When you don't care about it, or you have a priority or hierarchy to the left, the fact that they are cops puts them on the low totem pole, right? They don't give a damn about them. So that overtakes them being black or brown. They have on that uniform. They don't care about them, which is really interesting when you think about it, because the police represent the state, and to leftists, the state and the centralized government is basically their God, or certainly an order of God. So which begs to differ, like, why would they hate the police so much? And you know why? We just talked about it. Because to the police, or to those communities, certainly the black and brown communities who need the police give them a sense of freedom, because they're there to protect the borders, if you will. They're there to protect and ensure that some order is maintained, so that the people, the black and brown people, have the freedom to move throughout their communities, and practice their wares and their skills, things like that. But the left doesn't want that. They don't want that. And thirdly or fourthly, do you ever notice that all these leftists, these Marxists, these are some of the same people who will pay for private security if they don't use the taxpayer paid security for their elite status, right? They will pay for it however it comes. They will ask for a private security to make sure that they are protected from the very black and brown people who they claim that they want to love, and we're all kumbaya. These are some of the most hypocritical, I guess is the word. They are so dichotomized. They have two minds going on. What's the word? A double-minded. That's the word I'm looking for. They are so double-minded. And if you ask them and corner them, they get defensive. And of course, they're going to call you names. But actually look at how they live. That's what you should look at. Not just what they say. Look at actually what they do and how they live. And that will tell you most, if not everything you need to know.
Absolutely.
I agree with you. And here's another word for you: two-faced. Let's call it what it is. What they get it. Perfect example, Jasmine Crockett. Two-faced. You know, she's wiggling her neck and got the eyelashes that she could float away if she needed to, talking and dancing down the halls of Congress to rap music. But from every other source, she's quite well educated, absolutely well spoken when she chooses to be. She uses that dichotomy to talk out the side of her neck to one group and then uses her head to talk to another group. People like that are very, very interesting because there's something about the way that their mind works. It's not normal. It's not how regular people kind of function. And they generally end up getting caught up in their own web of foolishness. And we are all waiting with bated breath for that to happen to that particular person. But when we looked at that video, one of the things that struck me odd was, do you guys remember back when cops were cops? Mm-hmm. When cops, like, you push up on them if you wanted to, a cop would take out that little baton and whack you somewhere and make you change your mind. I hate that cops don't have the ability to not only defend themselves. If that were me getting pushed around, would he have to just simply push them back? Right? Mm-hmm. Remember when people would be caught on the street trying to rob an old lady or push somebody down, the cop would wear their tails out and then take them to the tank for a couple of hours, and it would be the end of that situation. We used to call that community policing. Everybody had a neighborhood cop that they knew their cop's name or that kind of thing. What we see now is this idea that policing has to stand back, that police can't be forward. They can't be proactive in their protection of not only themselves, but the rest of us. They have to wait until certain conditions are met before they can do something to defend. And I think that is the dumbest thing ever. I think, from my perspective, I would rather see the cop be proactive than reactive. I'd rather see them look at this group of people and say, okay, I'm going to give you 3 warnings. The 4th one's going to come with a little bit of stick across the forehead. Don't act up. You can protest, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when that guy grabbed that young cop and started to drag him around by his jacket, and the other cops only could do is to just bring him back into the circle and we'll wrestle him to the ground until he cools off. Foolishness. Back in 1980, they would have bashed his head wide open and sent him home to his mom with a pack of ice. We need to get back to some of that old kind of policing to make sure that our law enforcement officers are protected, and they can do a great job at protecting us.
Yeah. And on top of all this, you have the Democrats have totally went total Marxist, full Marxist. Full Marxist is what they are now, folks. I mean, with policies like no cash bail and early release programs, which have emboldened repeat offenders, they were pushing dismantling to police departments. Again, as you mentioned, Shelley, all of you have mentioned, it impacts the vulnerable. And so then it's like, so why? I mean, because all of these policies, all of this agenda, it leads to chaos. And so, because if you're asking, well, why does Marxism want chaos? It's a path to power. So Marxists believe in destabilizing society economically, culturally, morally. We've seen them with the family, with sexualizing children, all of that. It's a pathway to a new system that they feel like they want to implement here in America. Well, not just in America, actually globally. And this is where I kind of take it biblically, because the Bible talks about this. They want one world order. They want one world order, sort of like the Antichrist. This is what they want, folks.
Absolutely. And I just want to add, earlier somebody, I think it was Kung Fu CJ in the comments, said I was sugarcoating. I don't know what he was talking about. I'm not trying to sugarcoat. I'm explaining their way of thinking that may appear as something benevolent. So, for example, why are they releasing these criminals? Why they're not prosecuting criminals as we believe they should? Because of this idea that Marxism has, that people do bad things only because of their environment. So the way that they see these criminals is that no, they're not actually bad people, they're not actually criminally minded, is that they've experienced a difficult life or historical wrongs, and so in order to correct that, they need to be put in a better environment. And so they are experimenting with us socially. And yes, there's chaos, but from a Marxist perspective, well, it's okay. We need to go through chaos in order to reach our goal, our Marxist utopia. And they are, KJ, as you were saying, that they are anti-religion and anti-Christian and also anti-Judaism, because in the Soviet Union, Marxists destroyed more synagogues than churches. And I'm talking about the Orthodox religions, the ones that are not watered down. Because if you read the Old Testament, it talks about structure, it talks about family, it talks about rules that you have to follow, and even mentions things like commerce. So that is what they hate. They hate our Orthodox beliefs that both the Judeo-Christian religions follow, and they want to squash that, water it down, change it, and they do use certain groups like the Muslims. They're just using them, and the Muslims think that they're using the Marxists. So we'll see how that's going to play out.
Right. Yeah. Another thing, KJ, what you were saying, Yana, to your point about they want power. Yana, you said this benevolent appearance, or I forget the word you used, but one of the ways that this idea that Marxists, that people think that Marxism is so benevolent because they push this idea of equality or equity, right? Well, most people, if you don't stop and think about it and break it down, even in Marxist societies, there is an elite, what they call the bourgeoisie. And like Yana, I think you mentioned it earlier, Yana, the proletariat. So there's still people that are going to be considered elite and special and protected. It just won't be you, okay? And so don't think this idea that you're going to be equal with them. No, look at the history of communism. Yana's from Russia. She can tell you better, like the Russian Revolution, the monarch, things like that. There's still going to be this idea or this group of people who are running things, and they're going to be running you. So there goes your freedom, and there goes this idea of everybody's so equal, and we're all the same. No, not even in Marxism are you the same. And ultimately, to like KJ, your point, I mean, and Yana, they hate the Judeo-Christian religions, the structure you do. They hate the buildings, all of what it represents. But ultimately, Marxism hates the God of the Bible.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you mentioned, Yana, the Marxists believe that, the solution to evil and things like that is to change the environment. But we as Bible believers know that Scripture teaches sin is a heart issue. It's not an environmental issue. And the only way we can solve that is through Jesus Christ. And so this is why they hate Christianity. This is why they hate, the Judeo-Christian, I'll say the Bible, because it preaches that we don't go to government, to some other entity for any type of transformation or wealth or anything like that. Our power comes through God. And so it does not work if you are a Marxist. It just doesn't. And so this is why they hate Bible believers. They hate them because they know that at least they were used to not be. I mean, now you're seeing all these Christians follow the Democrat Party. I really don't understand. That's my last question of the night. We've just laid out all of these items on why the Democrat Party has gone full Marxist, how these policies and this agenda does not work. Why aren't more people seeing this and viewing this this way? And this is what I want to ask you all. Why don't they see this? It's particularly the Black community, because we know the Black community votes Democrat 90% of the time. And you had many Black people, with a large faction of the Black community was at one time Christians. So what's going on? Why are they being duped? I'll start with you, Nicole.
Do you know, KJ, I think you hit the nail on the head a little bit a while ago. Churches aren't what churches used to be in anybody's community, Black, white, or indifferent. There was a time where the church was the center of the community, and that's where people found their foundation. I know personally in my life, when I don't go to church, I feel like I'm, spiraling off my axis, because that could really easily happen in the way that I choose to live my life. But there are people who haven't been to church, whose families don't know where the church is. And there are some churches that take full advantage of the people who are parishioners. So there's been this massive community breakdown, and it's left open the door for ideas like Marxism or Democrat socialism, where the leaders are actually going to be your new God. The leaders are the people where you get your rights and your rules and your food and all the quote unquote creature comforts of life from, not God Almighty, right? The beautiful thing about that Constitution that Shelley holds up is it talks about how these rights that we have aren't made from man. These are our God-given divine rights. They don't like that idea because it says God, right? Here we are with churches openly advocating for abortion, pastors from the pulpit talking about, gayness being something that you should embrace. Whatever happened to hate the sin, love the sinner, right? There's so much breakdown in our communities, so much breakdown. And what the Marxists are doing, they're taking full advantage of people being broken away from God, being torn away from their power source. And they step in and offer them this false sense of security. And this is the mess that we have. This is the absolute mess that we have. Anytime that on a Sunday morning, when you can drive to the liquor store and find more people at the liquor store than you can at the neighborhood church, there's something going on in that community that needs to be fixed.
Yeah. Yana, what's going on? Why are so many people in America being duped by this Marxism? Because we know Marxism has taken over the Democrat Party, and we still find so many people, particularly in the Black community, that are falling for it.
Well, you were asking about the religious institutions, the churches. Well,
that's a part of it too, yeah.
Right. Marxists have infiltrated the religious institutions, and they have been infiltrating them for a long time. And also, people do not really study their religion. People do not read the Bible. They don't see it as law. They have all these interpretations, and people have moved away from really understanding the fundamental principles of the Bible. I think people go to church maybe as just like a club, like a social activity. The spirituality, the submission to the laws really is gone. So we are living in a completely secular society, and people who go to church, they live by secular norms and not religious norms.
Yeah. Yeah, Shelly Eve. I mean, bring us home on this. What are your thoughts on why the Democrat Party is still flourishing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, historically and even today, um, religion or the church, if you will, the religion and politics are very, very, very closely, I don't know, intertwined, related. They run together very closely. However, there was a time when, certainly in the Black community, I'll say, but there was a time when even though religion and politics were kind of like, what do you call it, like bed bugs, bed sisters together, whatever you call it.
Bedmates.
Yeah. So there was a time when people were still taught, and thankfully for the Protestant Revolution, Reformation, people were still taught that ultimately God is the center, the control, if you will. God is the one who sets the standards. And this brings to mind, this may be loosely answering your question, I guess, but it brings to mind, I think it's in 1 Samuel, when the people, the Jews, the Hebrews, they wanted a king, and God warned them against wanting a king. He warned them of the consequences of having a king versus being ruled by the biblical God. But they said no, they wanted a king. And guess what? God honored what they wanted. He gave them a king. He gave them a king. Consequences and all. He gave them a king. So sometimes God gives us what we ask for, even if he knows it's not good for us. So all that to say is humans, we are this tricky lot, right? We just are. Because of sin, because of nature, nurture, and vibe, whatever. We are this tricky lot. And there's no just box, if you will, that we're going to fit into for good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just saying all that to say. Again, this loosely answered your question. Ultimately, we do have the wherewithal, the conscience, the soul, the spirit, if you will, that we can discern right from wrong, good from bad, evil. We can discern those things, and we have to use that knowledge, that wisdom, and ultimately put it to the test of whether or not this is what God would want. And again, that may or may not answer your question directly, but that's all I can come up with in my humanness.
Yes, perfect. It was perfect. We would love to hear you all sound off in the chat on what you think. Why is we already have concluded that Marxism has taken over the Democrat Party. So then why are so many people still being duped by it? So please sound off in the chat. We have some super chatters here, folks. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Don't forget to hit that like button. Angel Mom with the $5 super chat says, I ask these fools if their child was victimized, would they be yelling, let him go? GBU, beautiful ladies. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you, Angel Mom. French 22 says, great brown pocketbook. Thank you, ladies. All right. Thank you. Mr. Wombat with a $20 super chat says they should really start following the money. It's no secret. Most of these protesters are paid. Yes. Regardless, so glad I found your channel. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, we appreciate you guys. What a great show tonight. Again, as you all come in, please hit that like button, share this broadcast in a DM, push it on your social media. We appreciate the support. We have a goal to hit 200,000 subscribers by Labor Day, and we can only do it with your help. So please subscribe. If you are watching, you haven't subscribed, share this with someone else you think will enjoy it. Tell them to subscribe. And we will be back on Friday. Special show for you all on Friday. We are a couple things. Well, one, we're going to have a special guest. I'm not sure if you guys were watching. Was it Monday night? We had a gentleman, Kelly. What's his name?
All I remember is Dee got a podcast.
Yes. Okay. Well, a gentleman is coming on who disagrees with our take on Candace Owens. So he is going to come on and talk about why he disagrees, and we're going to have a healthy debate. Also, Friday is our call-in show, folks. Anybody who wants to join us, who wants to come up on the panel. So I'm shouting out you, Kung Fu CJ, and anyone else who wants to join us, please tune in on Friday. We have our 9 p.m. show. We are inviting you on. So it's probably going to be towards the latter end of the show, or I should say the second half of the show. we are having a call-in. So the link will be provided and you can join us. All right. So it's going to be a great show. That is Friday night at 9 p.m. You can join us on the broadcast. So should be exciting. In the meantime, as I mentioned, tomorrow I will be here on KJ Christian Conservative. This will be the first part 1 of our 3-part series. So it's going to be a great show. From Candace Owens to the Vatican, Catholicism, Islam, and the end times. So please come on up over on at KJ Christian Conservative and watch us. All right. If you haven't checked out the All American Talk Show, they were on last night at 6:30 p.m. Great show. Check them out at All American Talk. They were going through this new European bill that's going on. They were breaking down a lot of stuff. So check them out at All American Talk. And then we will be back on Friday. We got some super chats here. Thank you all so much. All right, Jessica with the $5 super chat. Thank you. Says 9 teenagers here in South Carolina got together and decided to unalive another teenager in a supposed love triangle. They caught 5 out of the 9 so far. Wow. I am so sorry to hear that. Steel Toad with the $5 super chat says folks of all beliefs should be rallying around the U.S. Constitution.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All patriots should absolutely here in America rally behind it and around it. All right, folks. Well, that does it for us tonight. Again, want to just round out tonight. The common thread with this Marxism is control. These policies keep people dependent on government. That's why we got to rally behind the Constitution, as the gentleman said. But the Marxism removes upward mobility, so the ruling class remains in power. It thrives on chaos, destroys the economy, weakens our borders, and destabilizes our communities. Then present government as the savior. We got to push back against it. So there it is, folks. You got it right here. Veronica with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Veronica. Yes, indeed. Thank you so much. We appreciate you and all of your super chats. We'll be back on Friday night, 9 p.m. live call-in show. Hit that like button and subscribe. Until next time, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.